Shalom. Halal Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai Basham Rachak. Dash double honor to the elders and pastors of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect Hebrew Israelites. This is Brother Arakia coming back with a lesson. This is from Instagram account of a brother Amar Apocrypha official. 30,000 people in Sweden have implanted a microchip into their hand as of 2025. So what they have done is sealed their fate. Okay? If you take the MOTB of Revelation 13 and 16, there's no chance for you to be delivered. Even firstly, the deliverance is only for Israelites. Okay, but if you an Israelite and you take this device, it means that it's game over. Okay? And you see, we are now living in these times when the Apostle John, the Revelator, when he received the vision, the technology was not there. 100 years ago, the technology was not there. Now it is here. Now we're living in these times. Revelation 13:16, and it causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Okay. Let me do this. As Elder Apostle Taha always says, let me do it this way. Let me do it this way. Let me go to the chat. Okay, let me just hit up the chat. I want also the 17th verse where it speaks about buying and selling. Okay. I will say briefly explain this. Because if I don't say briefly, they always have fucking long answers, man. And then I put Revelation 13, 16 and 17. Okay? Yeah, I know what happened. Okay, I'm just write it again. Okay. Okay. Revelation 13, 16 and 17 describes a prophetic vision in which the powerful figure, often called the beast, forces everyone regardless of status to receive a special mark on the right hand or forehead. This mark serves as a sign of allegiance to the beast and becomes necessary for economic activity. Without it, people cannot buy or sell. So how the fuck can it be seen in all of its forms, whether it's political or spiritual? And what the fuck is a political sin? That need to be explained. That need to be elaborated on. What is a political sin? We are not politicians. I mean, what's going on there? In short, the passage symbolizes a future time of control and persecution, a total control, where loyalty to an evil power is enforced through economic restrictions. Many interpret it as warning about idolatry, loss of freedom, and the dangers of totalitarian systems that demand devotion in exchange for survival. So they didn't break down what the mark is. I'll put it like this. So specifically, what is this mark that, then I'm paste this. So specifically, what is this mark that without it people cannot buy or sell? Question mark. That's an excellent question because they don't know. ChatGPT don't know. That's an excellent question and one that has been debated for centuries. The mark of the beast in Revelation 13, 16, 17 isn't explicitly defined in the Bible, so interpretations fall into few main categories. Symbolic interpretation. Many scholars believe the mark is not a literal stamp or implant, but a symbol of allegiance. So how the fuck do you buy or sell with that? Representing loyalty to worldly powers or systems that oppose God. The hand, actions, and forehead thoughts, beliefs symbolize how a person's deeds and mind are devoted to the beast's values rather than God's. You still don't explain how you're gonna buy or sell. So before you go to the supermarket, they're gonna ask by your actions and your thoughts and beliefs, are you devoted to the beast? And you answer, yeah, I am. Okay, go ahead, you can now go and buy some milk and some cheese and some Oreo cookies. I mean, what kind of fucking bullshit is that? So everybody would just say that they are devoted to the beast then. They just lie. You know? But they know it here in the second. Some take it more literally as a physical mark, number, or technology like a tattoo, microchip. Hold on, man, here it is. So they said it. This is what it is. Or digital ID that could control buying and selling. This view ties the prophecy to the idea of global economic system enforcing compliance through technology. I mean, that's what the scripture is saying, that without it you cannot buy or sell. Historical interpretation. Others think John was referring symbolically to the Roman Empire of his time. The emperor's image and name on coins were marks of economic participation, and refusing emperor worship could exclude people from trade. No, he's not talking about that. He's talking about the end times. Okay? Although this is, Roman Empire 2.0, it wasn't talking about back then. The other prophecies hadn't come into pass. Esau were not, gone to the caves and then come back in reincarnation. So like in Renaissance times, in the 1500s, they didn't have that short season yet. Now they've had it. In summary, the mark represents economic and spiritual submission to an ungodly power, whether that's seen as a literal future system or a symbolic warning about compromising faith for material security. Would you like me to show how different Christian traditions interpret it? And notice, chat is answering like your everyday Christian pastors would answer. They say, some say it is physical, like a tattoo, or digital ID. Some say it's symbolic. Some say it is historic. I mean, what the fuck are you talking about? Why don't you just say what it is? Why are you playing all these games? Giving all these different options. Some people debate that. I mean, just shut up, man. This is how they speak. Sometimes I listen in the Finnish tongue. They have this. It at least used to be a television channel. Heaven TV7. That's funny. It rhymes in English. Heaven TV7. Yeah. In Finnish is Taivas Taivas TV7, if I remember correctly. But yeah, anyway. They have some, videos, calling themselves, discussing the biblical topics, and sometimes when reading a scripture or two. But always when it's time to break something down, they give these multiple different options. So basically they are not convinced. The scripture said that Yahushua was speaking as one that having authority, being certain. So they are just babbling. They are just giving an uncertain sound. But the scriptures speak about not giving an uncertain sound, which is exactly what they are doing. Okay. 1 Corinthians 14:8, for if the trumpet give an uncertain sound, who shall prepare himself to the battle? So all of them that follow them, those fake watchmen, fake prophets, they are not prepared in these times because they are following an uncertain sound. From elders, apostles of the Amazon down to the affiliates, we give out a certain sound, not uncertain, but certain sound. So I need to ask about number one. If it would be the symbolic interpretation, how do you buy and sell with symbolical mark? I think it's going to say excellent question. That's a very thoughtful question, and it gets to the heart of why Revelation uses symbolic visionary language. I'll just put if you look at the root words, because charagma, charags, grapho, so it is concrete mark. If you look at the root words, okay, but I just put that message so I could get the annoying text out of the way. But yeah, I said, if it would be the symbolical interpretation, how do you buy and sell with symbolical marks? So they said that's a very thoughtful question, and it gets to the heart of why Revelation uses symbolic visionary language, which is going off. It's not symbolic. If we take the symbolic interpretation, the buying and selling doesn't necessarily refer only to literal commerce, money and trade, but to participation in the world system of power and economy. So it's the same thing. How are you included or excluded on that based on a spiritual mark? The structures that reward allegiance to ungodly values and punish faithfulness to the Most High. Here's how that works symbolically. Economic pressure as moral compromise. The mark symbolizes agreeing to the beast's values, doing whatever it takes to succeed in a corrupt system. Those who refuse the mark who stay faithful to the Most High's ways are shut out, meaning they suffer loss, exclusion, or persecution for not conforming. I mean, what do you mean beast's values? And what's going on here, man? Buying and selling as life participation In ancient times, economic life was intertwined with religious and political loyalty. For example, honoring the emperor's image. So buying and selling stands for full participation in society, which is denied to those who won't conform to the beast's ideology. How do you test that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. How would you test who is conforming and who is not? You could just every time you could just lie and go take go take some food and then But if you take the mark, that's it. That's definitive. Okay. Spiritual meaning: the passage warns that compromise for survival or success, exchanging loyalty to the Most High for material security, is spiritually dangerous. The mark thus represents an inner consent to evil, even if expressed through outward participation in unjust systems. It's not what it is. So in symbolic terms, you buy and sell with the mark when you go along with a corrupt system for gain, and you refuse the mark when you stay faithful to truth and righteousness, even at personal cost. Yeah, but it is, but if you take the mark, then you go, if you take the microchip, then you go along with the corrupt system for gain, and when you don't, you stay faithful to truth and righteousness, even at personal cost. So with this answer, they gave you the potatoes, they gave you the salad, the spices, but they left out the fucking steak, which is the microchip. That's the main part of this breakdown. So they asked if I want, ChatGPT demon asked if I want an example in a modern context, and then I said it is concrete mark if you look at the root words. Okay. Then it says you're absolutely right to point out that the Greek wording of Revelation 13, 16, 17 does describe something quite concrete, not merely an abstract symbol. Let's look at that more closely. The Greek word for mark is charagma, which literally means an engraved mark, stamp, or brand, something impressed, etched, or cut into a surface. In the ancient world, charagma was used for the imperial seal or stamp on documents, coins, or even brands on slaves or soldiers, showing ownership or loyalty. So yes, linguistically, the passage describes a physical mark that identifies who belongs to the beast and who doesn't. But here it's going off now, because the chat is not spiritual, man. The chat is mathematical, calculative. However, even though the word is concrete, John often uses physical images symbolically in Revelation. For example, the lamb symbolizes Yahweh, the beast represents a kingdom or ruler, NATO and the EU. Babylon symbolizes an ungodly empire or system, which is America. In the same way, the charagma could be a literal mark with symbolic meaning. A visible sign of allegiance that also carries a spiritual reality. I mean, it's just trying to be a smart ass, So you correct the root words point to something tangible and outward, but its purpose and meaning point to deeper spiritual loyalty and submission. Yeah, true. You taking the microchip or not? Would you like me to show how that Greek term charagma was used in other ancient writings to see what kind of mark it referred to? No, I do not. I do not need that ChatGPT because it's very clear. If you're spiritual, it's very clear what the charagma really is. Okay? And as you can see in here, 30k people in Sweden, and also people, in America. I don't know the number, but it's getting more and more out there. So I'll be close. So I hope this lesson was edifying. On to the next one. Shalom.